Hi, I'm Ilan Goldstein, and you're watching the Scrum Shortcut series. In this video, we will be focusing on transitioning to relative estimation. So hopefully, if you are watching this shortcut, it means that you're ready to give relative estimation a good go. The lights are dimmed, the sunglasses are on, and the cards are ready to be dealt in your inaugural planning poker session. But hang on, where do you start? What does a 1-point story actually mean? How about a 13-pointer? What is the best way to initially calibrate so that the team has a benchmark to work from? Well, I like to utilize an approach that sets firm foundations by leveraging historical work completed in the recent past. The output of this process is the creation of mappings between known quantities, i.e. the recent completed work, and the new Fibonacci story point values. Using historical work offers a team two significant advantages: familiarity and consistency. It is obvious that any team will be more familiar with work that they completed previously than with work they are going to do in the future. This familiarity proves to be particularly helpful when playing planning poker, because instead of comparing future unknown work to other future unknown work, teams can compare future unknown work with past familiar work. When historical work forms the set of benchmarks for the various point values in the planning poker deck, these same benchmarks can be used across any and all projects that the same team works on down the track. This early work will naturally speed up future proceedings because the initial benchmarking process is required only once, as opposed to whenever a new product backlog is formulated and presented. Several steps are required when creating the mappings between the historical work and the new Fibonacci point system. Firstly, we need to identify a recent project that the same team, or at least most of the team, was involved in. List the discrete pieces of work and write them on index cards if they are in digital form. If they are not already in the user story format, they can be converted to ensure comparative consistency moving forward. For this next step, you need a nice big table and, of course, the development team. Starting with the first index card, read the user story out loud and place it on the table. Next, take the second card and ask the team whether they recall it taking more, less, or the same amount of effort as the first card. If it took less effort, place it to the left of the original. If it took more effort, place it to the right. And if it took roughly the same amount of effort, stack it on top of the first. If there is any contention or confusion, simply disregard the card. Then take the next card and place it either to the left of both cards if it took less effort than both, to the right of both cards if it took more effort than both, between the cards if its effort was somewhere in the middle, or on top of one of the cards if it was roughly the same effort. Repeat this process for all of the index cards. At this stage in the process, there should be a number of sequential card stacks of varying sizes on the table. Please note that I use the word stack loosely, as you can certainly have just one card in a stack in this exercise. The stack at the very left of the table will therefore contain the cards representing the smallest requirements, and the stack representing the largest requirements will be located at the very right end of the table. Now it's time to play some planning poker. The first step is to automatically assign all cards in the leftmost stack a 1-point value. As an aside, I like to reserve the smallest half-point value for trivial changes, such as label adjustments or text box alignments. So unless your smallest stack is made up of these tiny requirements, consider starting with 1 point rather than the half point. Starting with a representative requirement from the second smallest stack, directly to the right of your new 1-pointer requirements, determine the relative effort that was required to complete it compared to a representative from the smallest stack. For example, it may have been 3 times as much effort. As each stack gets classified, place a card representing its relative point value above it for quick recollection. So using our example, the second stack would be tagged with a 3-pointer card. With any luck, your planning poker session ran, leaving you with several stacks of requirements with corresponding point values. In a perfect world, there will be a stack that corresponds to each value in the Fibonacci point system. But do not worry if this isn't the case. At the end of the day, so long as you have a couple of benchmark requirements, you can at least get started. If you happen to be spoiled for choice by having stacks containing a number of stories, then you can further classify them into subcategories that relate to different areas of focus. For example, you could end up with 3 different 5-point stories. Even though they are grouped together based on similar effort, they could all have very different focal points. Requirement 1 could have data optimization complexities. Requirement 2 could have more of a user interface focus. And requirement 3 could require integration with a third-party product. By subclassifying in this manner, the ability to compare apples to apples when estimating new product backlogs becomes a reality. The final step in this calibration exercise is to filter out one representative from each stack, or substack if you subclassified. These final champions will become the reference requirements that are used to help start off future planning poker sessions on new product backlogs. Considering that the requirements have already been classified, the selection of the reference requirements can be based on choosing a random story from the stack, or if you wish to be more discerning, the team can select the requirements that carry the most familiarity. Although the initial calibration exercise may be complete, I recommend that you embrace and continue your new recycling practices. At the end of every subsequent project, add any completed requirements to the benchmark collection to continuously build up a rich library of stories that are not only familiar, but are also easily relatable to a variety of different requirements. And there you have it. You are now equipped with a process to leverage historical work to calibrate some relative benchmarks. By utilizing work completed in the past, the team gains the added benefits of familiarity and consistency, making the transition to relative estimation smoother and less ambiguous. And that's it for transitioning to relative estimation. I'll see you in the next video for another Scrum shortcut.